And it appears we are live. So if we're running into any issues, let us know here in chat. But we should be good. We check things out. Everybody's got audio and visual, so far we're good. We would like to welcome Mike of Gideon Optics onto the channel.
Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
Just tap the lens.
Yeah, right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Happy Sunday evening. Don't mind if I eat my sandwich. This is dinner of champions tonight. So,
There you go.
Hey, there's that's allowed on YouTube. It's one of the few things that's allowed.
Right.
They, maybe if you get up close to the mic, you can do that. What they call it, ASMR. So,
yeah,
Oh,
right.
geez. Is there such thing as like sandwich eating ASMR?
I think so, man. It wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Oh, the
So
mouth noises. Yuck.
Yeah,
Nope.
no.
there's some weird people out there. Okay, there are some weird people out there. There's some weird people in our chat. There's some weird people on screen. So I mean, shit, a little bit for everybody.
Look at that. We have a celebrity. We have Steve-O from fucking what's this place?
Which
Damn.
I know what you're talking about.
Hey, Steve-O.
Anyways, Mike from Gideon Optics. I met him back in another when he was with another company called Swamp Fox, and I built him a trigger. I looked at this was back in the day when it was very hard to find an optic, a decent optic other than even Holosun at the time didn't even have a good reputation. So
We're working on it.
Yeah, and that original Kingslayer was
Oh my God.
the original.
Memories. I've got one on the shelf still in my reference collection. Man, we come a long way, boys.
Yes, and now with Gideon. So let's tell me a little bit about Gideon Optics. Like where you guys kind of positioned and who you guys for.
Right. Okay. Gideon Optics is for the people, which we really are. We really are. So let me give you the story from my end of it. So from 2019 through the beginning of 2022, I was Swamp Fox Mike, and I enjoyed being Swamp Fox Mike. I poured myself into it. My blood pressure went crazy because I had too much on my plate. And I was, doing as much marketing as I could. I was trying to get into R&D. I was trying to get my hooks into as much as I could to grow Swamp Fox. Yes. And I enjoyed it very much. I had a great time. And then in 2022, I got a call in the spring, and the boss called, and he's like, look, COVID's pretty much over. Nobody's quarantining anymore. We don't want to do any more remote work. Like the company's getting too big. It's getting unwieldy. And I want everybody to move to Denver, and we're going to all go to Denver. We're all going to be under one roof. No more remote work. And I was like, hold on a second. I got friggin' Facebook notifications going off here. Go away. How do I I don't even have a Facebook friggin' window open.
That's Shut Windows up, 11
Josh.
for you.
Now is not the time, Windows 11. I ought to shut that off. Anyway, apologies.
No worries.
So I had gotten married that year and had got a couple of stepkids out of the marriage. That they're her kids from previous marriage. They're both in really good school situations. The boy is in jazz band in high school. He's a jazz dude. One of the best jazz high school programs in the country. He plays trumpet. He's doing great. The girl is in community college. She's getting her associates in like a couple months this spring. But she was getting started to go in there. She's commuting to school, saving us a ton of money by not living in the dorms, And I'm like, these kids are doing really good here in Houston, and I can't just like uproot them and take them to Denver. Yeah. And not knowing anybody, it's really expensive there. The housing market's expensive. It's like you go on Zillow and it's like, all right, here's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath fixer upper in the industrial part of town, $450,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe not so much, And anyway, and plus, like, half my gun collection's technically illegal in Denver anyway. It's, hey, the local sheriff isn't enforcing the law, so we still have our Second Amendment. So I knew pretty much. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that.
Well,
So
you had always been based in Texas that I knew of from Swamp Fox. Some occasionally, even before COVID, I think you would jet out there from time to time. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like COVID sent you to Texas.
right,
You had always
exactly.
been based there.
Yeah. Yep. That's right. I've been based there since 2015. I've actually come down here to work for Primary Arms in 2015.
Ah,
So yeah, I was with PA for a while. So anyway, so I decided I'm going to part ways with Swamp Fox. I'm going to figure out something else. Meanwhile, Jordan, who owns JSD Supply, had been doing pretty well with Glock parts, Glock slides, Glock frames, not Glock frames, poly 80 builds, 80% stuff, and that's what his bread and butter was. And then at that same year is when our esteemed President Roomba, we call him President Roomba. Where am I?
got to lead him around. Yeah. Yeah.
He signed an executive order saying you can't do that anymore. No more 80%ers.
Yeah.
So then Jordan's like, hey, I think I want to start an optics company because it's not going to get executive ordered away.
Mhm.
We're selling all these optics ready slides and we don't have any optics to put on them. So it kind of makes sense. We could do some pistol dots and have dots that go with our slides. And that's kind of how it started out, the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And so, if only Jordan could find a guy who had helped grow a couple of optics brands. And there I was going, pick me. I know this. I know how to do this. I've done it before.
The heart and soul of Swamp Fox, if you ask me.
Right. Oh, thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you. So, yeah, they've changed a lot since I've left. And, I still have friends there and I still root for them, but I'm doing my own thing now, but I still pay attention to what Swamp Fox is up to.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that was it. So I came to Gideon and we started from scratch. Like we didn't have a brand name. We didn't have anything except the idea of let's make, as Jordan put it, he said, I want to make the Toyota Camry of dots.
People like Toyotas, but they work. That's the thing.
Yeah,
they work.
The internet is chock full of guys who argue online all day about whether a Ferrari is faster than a Lamborghini, and then you know what they do? They drive their Camry home.
Yeah. I've got my toys and I get out in my Grand Cherokee to go back and forth where I need to go.
Yeah.
Because
So everybody likes talking about the high end stuff. I love talking about the high end stuff. Something Knights Armament, something LWRC, something FN Scar Heavy. Cool. Do I have any $3,000 rifles? Nope.
Yeah.
No, can't do it. Can't justify it. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. And the way that it works is that basically I am our core customer. So it's easy for me because I just have to be myself. Like I am our core customer. I'm the budget guy who I don't want to spend $600 on an aim point, but I'll make, I'll help us make this. There we go. I didn't want an aim point, so I made this for $250 instead.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
I'm gonna ask a question. When it comes to probably one of the reasons why I haven't bought a lot of red dots for any of my pistols here lately is I hate the screw mounts. I hate screw mounts. The like a 509T from Holosun, they've gone to kind of like a almost like a Picatinny mount where it's got teeth where it actually mounts instead of screws.
It's like this. It's on that acro mount, so it's like, honey, I shrunk the Picatinny rail.
Yeah,
and the screw, you got one screw that comes in from the side.
Yes,
it's actually the best mounting platform. It's the best. It's the best footprint, but almost nobody is actually using it. It sucks. But.
Do you see that mount style growing, or is it going to continue with these damn screws?
Man, like honestly, I think it's going to continue with the screws for a long time. Yeah, like
shit.
So I'll tell you a war story from SHOT Show while I open this up. So about a year ago at last SHOT Show,
Mhm.
we didn't have these out yet, but I had a prototype. It was ugly. It was like hand put together. It didn't have the styling on it, none of that. And I wanted to make sure that we had the footprint right, that we'd gotten the underside of the scope body correct, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like got my courage up and I took my prototype and I walked up to the Aimpoint booth and I
Oh
found a
shit.
guy wearing a suit. Because at SHOT Show, the dudes that are wearing suit and ties are the real decision makers. The
Gotcha.
guys that are in the polo shirts are like the underlings, and the guy that's wearing a tie, that's the boss man, right?
Yeah, that's the man to
So
talk to.
yeah. So I found a guy that was wearing a tie, and I pulled my prototype mediator out of my back pocket and said, "Listen, I totally understand if you just tell me to buzz off and pound sand. I get it, but I have this Chinese-made enclosed emitter, and it's going to be on the Acro footprint. Do you have a footprint that you can put this on and see if it fits?" And I'm I'm expecting this guy to, I
That's
don't
some
know what he's
balls.
thinking. Yeah, I'm like, this is the gutsiest thing I've done for a minute.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he goes, "Hand it over." So I give him the optic. He disappears. He comes back and he's got a blue gun, like a training gun. It's a
Mhm.
blue gun with an Aimpoint Acro plate on it, and he's attached my prototype scope to the plate. And he's like, "You got it right. Fits great. Does everything it's supposed to do. Good job. Tell them they did fine." He said, "The only piece of advice I have for you is tell your factory, make this screw out of the best possible screw that you can get your hands on.
Yep.
Because people are going to put stupid monkey torque on it. Even if you tell them not to, you can make a YouTube video and say, don't over torque this. They're going to
Yeah.
be just cranking on it like crazy. And
Yeah.
if this screw is crap, then you're going to get a lot of returns just based on popping that side screw." So the guy not only checked my footprint for me, he gave me a really good piece of advice, and we had a really good talk. And basically, the point of it is that Gideon Optics, as a startup, as a small company, we don't threaten Aimpoint at all. But what Aimpoint wants is for that footprint to proliferate. So if
Mhm.
there's a bunch of these on the market now, which there are, various brand names that are very similar, we can talk about that stuff later. But there's a bunch of enclosed emitter dots on the market that are 200 to 350 to $400.
Yeah.
Then more people are putting this footprint on their slide. Then maybe a couple years later or a year later or whatever, their wallet has recovered from purchasing the gun and all of that stuff. They got their mags already, and they're like, you know what? I think I'm ready to go ahead and just an upgrade. I'm going to
I'm gonna
sell this.
treat myself.
Yeah, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to sell this at a gun show for $150 or whatever. Get a little bit of money back out of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go ahead and spring for that Aimpoint P2, just like the Navy SEALs have. And then because we used Aimpoint's footprint, they get a sale further down the road. And the guy at the SHOT Show was smart enough, or Aimpoint themselves are smart enough, and he was a reflection of that, to say
Mhm.
that's what we want, is for our footprint to be used more and more and more. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anybody not to use it. So this is the gateway drug for an Aimpoint P2 as far as Aimpoint's concerned, which I thought was super professional of them to do, because he could have told me to buzz off and I would have totally I
You
wouldn't have taken
expected
any
that.
offense to that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who the heck are you?
Yeah.
You know?
See, and that's that footprint right there is literally what I would like all of my guns that have optic mounts to have, because I like that mounting system. I mean, I'm not
You know
afraid
why?
to put screws into I worked on, $1 million aircraft. I can put a screw into a hole. And even I have gotten mounting brand new optics with brand new screws and a brand new slide. I've run into issues where it started to get cross-threaded just because of whatever reason, and it's always pissed me off. And
Well, the other thing that this Aimpoint Acro system does that no other system does, is that you have this. I'm gonna hold it up here. You have this lug, like I said, it's like Honey, I Shrunk the Picatinny, right? So it's like a
Mhm.
mini Picatinny with one notch
Locating,
right?
yeah.
Right. And so what happens is that um, that's a recoil lug. And so then this piece here, there's the recoil lug there. It goes in like a Lego set, right? And what that does is when I click this together, the forwards and backwards shock forces of the g-force of acceleration on a slide, as this thing is moving on a reciprocating slide, that's taken up by that lug,
The
which is
shear
way
force.
better. It's way better than holes with little posts in them, because if the holes are too small or the holes are too big and the post is too small, then the post doesn't really fill the hole.
Correct.
If it's too big, then it doesn't really fit flush on there, and you wind up whacking into place with a rubber mallet, which I've done because I'm a redneck. So this is much more forgiving, right? And so any aircraft engineer worth his salt will tell you you never put shear forces on a clamping fastener.
Correct. And that's
Right.
what screws are. They're a
Never do
clamping
that, right?
fastener.
Yeah, you would never do that on even a Cessna 172. They'd be like, no, 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 no. You're gonna crash your plane. But we do it all the time with optics, and then the screws break, the thing flies off, hits you in the nose. It's happened to me twice.
Now
My
it could be a shear fastener if there was room for a an unthreaded body. You know, it could then become a shear fastener, but it's so short, you've got the threads there, so it's a
Yeah,
clamping fastener.
this is so much better because I have the forwards and backwards motion is taken up by this recoil lug, and then all I need is one little dinky screw to clamp in from the side, and
Yeah.
all it's doing is side clamping force, and it doesn't really care about the backwards and forwards at all. So, brilliant platform, great job, aim point. Why is everybody using something different? And like Holosun and others keep coming out with their own proprietary footprints. Like I've got a Holosun EPS on my VP9 because opposition research. I want to know what the other guys are doing. Got a Holosun EPS, and I had to get its own little EPS plate just for the EPS that doesn't fit anything else. Stupid, you know.
Back before I met you in Swamp Fox, before that, I was talking with what is the name of that little company? They do optics as well, and I can't remember, but they had their highest end optic play or optic, and it really was a night. And this is years ago, so I can't even remember the name. Really nice, and it was pretty sturdy, and they did a bunch of testing on it, but it had its own custom mount. I had to send a slide off to have it custom cut for that mount in and of itself. And so when you guys came out with, or when Swamp Fox came out with the Kingslayer, and I was able to just get a standard RMR cut, it was a game changer. And I emailed that company. I'm like, hey guys, is there any way you guys can turn this optic into, RMR cut? But because of where their battery was located and everything, they couldn't. They weren't able to do it. But.
Yep. There's ways around it though. You want to know a secret? Hey, people in the comment section that are watching this live stream, would you like to know a live stream secret that I haven't told anybody yet? Surely Jordan wouldn't get too mad at me. We're working on next gen stuff, because if you're not already working on that next thing, you're falling behind, right? It goes so fast.
Correct.
If you're not already working on that next thing, you're falling behind. One of the next things that we are working on is a direct to MOS optic. No plates.
Oh,
straight on a Glock MOS. So I got a Glock 17 MOS, Glock 19 MOS, any of those, and you have that little rib in the middle and the two little screws right next to each other. All right, it's gonna go straight on that. But because of the position of those screws, they're right in the middle of the cut and they're right next to each other. You're screwed on the battery. You're absolutely just screwed. Plus, there's a rib there that's taking up space. Now I have to make my dot kind of like in a horseshoe shape like this. So that's where the battery would go, but it's taken up by that middle rib, which I had an MOS. I could just pull it out and show you, but don't have anything without an optic on it. So what do you do? We are putting the battery. Good catch, Mike. Battery's going to be like this
On the side.
right there,
Ah,
on the right
okay.
hand side. But it's going to be So it's kind of a big freaking battery compartment built in as deep as we can into the right wall, because underneath here the MOS footprint doesn't allow anything, but it will be direct on top of the Glock. No adapter plates needed.
That's
Um,
genius.
yeah, because people are getting sick of adapter plates. People want direct mount. I love like we have the Patmos slides that JSD makes, and they're cut for RMR already. So just you just plop it on there and done. You don't have to Google up CHPWS. Like no,
Yeah.
just put it on.
See, that's
That's
like Brandon deals with the Canic, and he does plates for adapting the Mete or whatever
meat.
you've got. Meat.
Yeah, we haven't done the Mete plates yet, but the standard optic plates, and yeah, the footprints and stuff. I mean, the problem with the Canic for sure is that their striker channel comes up and it's exposed, and so it creates this height that you can't get away from, and so we make it as low as possible, which is great, but you're screwed if you think that you're going to get something super low on a Canic. It's just not going to work. And then the Mate came out, but that's all micro dot. So that's RMSC footprint, and that can be direct mounted. But then there's an adapter that you have to use if you want to go full size with a C model, or if you want to do an RMR footprint.
That's what I would do. I'm actually a Canic fan. I like them. So shout out to my buddy Paulie, who may or may not be watching. But Paul Fitch is a friend of mine who's a gun writer. He writes for NRA Shooting Illustrated and Gap Marketing, and he's an up and coming gun writer. He's doing a great job. And he recently had the opportunity, and I was lucky enough to be at the range and play along. But he had the Canic Rival S with the steel frame.
Yep.
And the new Walther PDP with the steel frame at the range at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So we shot them in back-to-back drills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like the Walther is like $2,000, baby. Like it's nice, and it's like arguably better than the Canic, but it wasn't like $1,000 better than the Canic. It was Canic was right there, right underneath it, But again, with the meat or the Mate, however you want to say it, the way that the Canic slide is shaped, the PDP is just like a straight wall like this, and your optics is on top of it. But Canic has that. They have that sort of
the chamfer.
Yeah, and they've rounded off the top of the slide, and by the time you get to the horizontal part of the slide, you really need to get an adapter to get an RMR on it. But if it was me, if I was going to do Canic, which I might at some point go back to them, I would go with the RMSC to RMR adapter all day long.
Yeah.
But then that also, like, there's nothing that's perfect. Hey, it's Jordan. I gotta watch what I say now.
I gotta watch out.
So we were talking. I'm gonna handle a firearm real quick. Let me go get something. I want to talk about adapter plates for a second. We do that. We talk about
yeah.
Tons of adapter plates.
Let
me get a couple things from my latest range trip, and make sure that they're clear. And I'll be right back.
As long as you're wearing pants. Okay, he's good.
Brandon works with fashionable jeans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, jeans.
Well, that's why I'm not getting up. I'm not wearing pants, so it's just
me neither, actually.
Oh man, wow! It is Sunday. It's Sunday. We're kicked back. We're kicked back here on a Sunday, but no, like you said with that Canic sitting up high, I think one of the reasons that I've seen people just get upset is having to move that rear sight to the front of the optic and losing that rear sight with the factory adapter plates. So I don't know if they'll cancel the stream. He should be good as long as he doesn't get terribly excited about pricing. I recently ran into an issue with that where they canceled my stream. He ought to be good.
I wish I had like a blue gun now. Yeah.
It'll be we'll see. We'll see. If it happens, it happens. It'd be all right.
Yeah, but I don't want it to happen though. I don't want the upset the YouTube.
Well, pull the slide off. Just if it's
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I can do that. So
Monetization. Trust me, I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah,
I make
right.
I think I made like 2 cents in a year. So
there goes your $3.
yeah, it's
Okay,
really okay.
so example one, not a live firearm. This is half of a live firearm. This is a Walther Q5 match, and it kind of like that Canic. It's tapered up top, right?
Yep.
So I've got a plate on here for my Gideon. Actually, yeah, turn that on. Turn it on nice and bright so you can see it. So here's a Gideon Alpha. A nice little circle dot in it. There
I
it
see
is.
it.
Yeah.
There it is.
But you can see how this plate sort of juts out. There's a lot of overhang on this plate here, right?
Looks like the old Kingslayer.
Yeah. It's got a lot of overhang, and it's not the optics fault. It's just RMR footprint, but because that slide's tapered, it's like that. So my problem, what I have to watch out with this is that I shoot thumbs flagged very high. So when I'm shooting,
You catch in the corner.
I tend to put this thumb high like this, and I'll put this thumb in front of it. So I'm kind of shooting like this, right? You'll see Glock shooters usually shoot like that with their thumb towards the target, and I'm not. I don't like that on my. This is much better for me. What I do is I press my thumbs together, right? But when that optic reciprocates, when it slides back and forth, I have to watch out that I don't cut my thumbs.
Yeah, you're catching your knuckles.
Yeah, on that wide adapter plate because of where I flag my thumbs. So nothing's perfect. What's better? Keep it off camera, Michael Branson.
Like I said, you should be pretty good. It's dark though. It's dark here. We'll.
Haha. So this is better. So I'm actually making a YouTube where I'm reviewing this. This is the top half of a really fascinating gun, a TSOS PX9 carry.
Okay.
And TSOS basically copied everybody's homework when they made this. I mean, it's wild. It's like a hodgepodge of this part is SIG 320, and that part is HK VP9, and this part is Springfield XD, and like it's crazy. Like it's like an old college professor told me once, if you steal from one person, it's called plagiarism. If you steal from everybody, it's called research.
Yeah.
And they basically took like the best of everything that they liked, and they threw it together and made a really good little concealed carry pistol. It's like a little bit bigger than a Glock 48, but it's an 18 round mag for it. So super cool. But and I'll have this on my YouTube. But notice this is again a Gideon Rock on here, direct mount.
Yeah,
that's the future there, where they just cut it for RMR. Like those Patmos slides I was telling you about, they just cut it for RMR, and there's no muss, no fuss, no need to Google an adapter plate. Who makes an adapter plate for the TSOS? Forget it. You don't need to do it. It's just on there, and it's been fantastic. So I like that a lot better than the sort of modular, like with the PDPs, it's a modular system, and you can email Walther and ask for whatever footprint you want, and eventually they'll ship you a plate.
Right.
Well, see, and that's the thing. That's where, the aftermarket in like the Glock, Glock aftermarket, everybody sells an RMR, and then PSA for some reason still offers the
DPP.
Yeah. Which whenever I see somebody who buys that slide, I'm like, you just throw that thing away, or just keep the plate on it because.
Well, you know what I see a lot, and like I love PSA. I'm friends with the PSA guys.
Yeah, no, the PSA guys have been good to me.
I'm just gonna say what I see. This is what I see. I see guys in the PSA dagger group on Facebook going, "Hey, I got an awesome deal on this dagger because it was on clearance.
Yeah,
but none of my dots will fit." And then immediately you've got 10 guys in the comments going, "Yeah, they put the DPP footprint on clearance again, and he bought one of those, and he's got a." And like they just don't know that it's not universal and it doesn't all automatically fit together. And then there's 4 guys going, "Well, what do I do now?" So
Run irons. You run iron sights.
yeah, we're working on that. There may
Okay.
be
Dremel.
a DPP Gideon coming in the future that we're working on as well for those guys, so they don't just get left out in the cold.
It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
It'll never be like a sales leader, but some sales are better than no sales, and I'd rather have those guys have a quality option that doesn't break the bank instead of, because otherwise you've got a loophole Delta Point Pro, which is how much money on a $300 not Glock from PSA. It's a little goofy, right?
It is a little bit.
You know what I mean?
I mean, don't get me wrong. The Dagger guys, they save money on the frame, on the initial frame buy-in, where they can buy some of the more expensive stuff to try out. I really see the Dagger as kind of like the new P80, because we used to see a lot of guys that didn't know anything about Glocks. They would buy a P80 and then they would learn. Since that market has kind of changed, shall we say, I see a lot of the same things that I saw in the Dagger market or in the P80 market in the Dagger groups.
Yeah,
I do a lot of training, to the same type of training I did to the P80 guys in the Dagger groups.
Spread the good word, James.
Teaching,
I see you in there putting in work. I do. I see that.
I one of my biggest ones is teaching people that their trigger does not work until you put the slide on. So they'll talk about how their trigger's not working, and they'll put videos, and it's like, oh my God, guys, how many years have I been doing this? And so I actually need to do an actual video so I can just link it instead of getting into an argument of why it doesn't work.
one at a time.
Because they don't listen. It's like, guys.
Yeah, it's
because I got to write out again and again. Your striker is what pulls your trigger forward. Your trigger bar is connected to. It's just anyway.
I see you sending links to that video on cruciform engagement all the time too.
All the time.
Okay, listen, this is why it's going full auto for you. Don't tell anybody. Take it home, stop shooting it, and look at this video and figure out what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
Don't take it to the local cops going, oh, full auto Glock. No, it's not going to go the way you want. Stop shooting it. Be quiet. Go home and watch this video.
Yes.
I see you doing that all the time, dude.
All this, and I used to link to another video for that, but it was like a 30-minute video, and I'm like, it doesn't need to be this long. So I did my own. It's in like 10 minutes. It's short and to the point. Shows you how to do it, and like I said, it's the quickest one I found. So
yeah. So I'm also kind of like in the holster world a little bit. My wife actually does customer service for a holster company, and I'm a real big holster snob. In fact, in the T-Sauce review that I'm doing on YouTube, I talk about how much I hate this holster that comes with the gun and what like a giant liability is. And T-Sauce is probably going to hate me for that, but they're going to love what I say about the rest of the gun. But this is garbage. So I'm really opinionated on holster stuff, but like the holster guys, they have kind of a similar deal where what they really want to do is educate people about why their holster is better, and the crappy holster that they saw on Facebook that's $30, why it's crappy.
Yeah.
And you can only educate people that are willing to listen and that actually use the product. And you only reach some people that way, because you always have guys who are like, well, I had a We the Constitution holster for a year and it's been fine. Yeah, dude, but you don't carry your gun. You carried your gun like once a month for a year.
Yeah.
So you're trying to educate your customer and without saying like, okay, what you're asking for is not how things work at all. We get a little bit of that in the dot world too. Why can't we have everything for cheap? Let's ask. Hey, Jordan, let's ask the comment section right now. Let's ask them. So Gideon Omega. All right. Let's see which one this is. This is the first gen. So first gen. Well, that's really hard.
There it is.
All right. Because the camera is focused on me, that dot looks like the size of a basketball right now. But it's a 3 MOA dot. All right. So when you focus on the target and your target focus shooting, that dot covers up 3 inches at 100 yards. Okay.
Mhm.
We also have in the new generation a brighter circle dot, which is more like a Holosun-ish 3 MOA dot with like a 45 MOA circle around it. And those are I'm really happy with those because they're actually brighter than these are. They're more daylight bright. So we're making iterative changes, trying to get better, Anything we can do to improve the product, we will. Anything that I could do to somehow make it better, I'm interested in doing that thing, right? The question is, should we do a multiple reticle select system in this, like you often see from Holosun, where you can choose dot, circle without a dot, which we do have on the Mediator. So we've got that on this. This is the Halo product right now. You can change it. You hold the brightness up button, and it goes from dot to circle dot to what I call shotgun mode, which is circle without the dot, which is hilarious on a shotgun, by the way. Because
That's
you just put the ring over the target, and the shotgun does shotgun things. It's freaking fantastic.
that's what my shotgun needs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Oh
have to
yeah,
do
it's
that.
great. But if we do that, it's going to cost extra money. All of a sudden, this is not a $220, not SRO anymore. It's a $250 big window dot.
Yeah.
Would you spend the extra $30 to have the option to fool around with your reticle and change from this to that to this to that?
Well, let's see, and that's where you're gonna get people saying, "Well, just offer both." And in a perfect world, that would be great. But
Yeah.
when you have to purchase so many of each product to and then have that sit on the shelf. Let's say you do make that initial purchase, then you've got different products sitting on the shelf.
Right.
It's not easy to make
Instead of
that choice.
we have 600 Omegas in stock to sell you. Now we have 200 of these and 200 of those and 200 of these.
Correct.
And then for some reason, everybody decides, well, I want the green with a multiple reticle select for $250. Then that sells out. It's out of stock. And then we're getting emails from everybody going, hey, when are those going back into stock? And I've got 400 other optics sitting here not selling because it's the best one.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
so hard. Like demand planning is so hard. What do people want? What are they actually going to buy? What are they going to spend their real money on? Because again, like we talked about, there's a bunch of guys online that talk about whether Lamborghini is better Ferrari right before they drive their Camry home. So there's lots of people that will say, "Oh yeah, I'll do this and I'll do that," and then they don't. When I was a Swamp Fox, I had a stinker at Swamp Fox. Mea culpa, I admit it. It was my idea. I developed it. It didn't sell. It was discontinued. It's on Mike Branson, and it was called the Spear Duplex Reticle. We went to NRA show, and there were a bunch of old guys at the NRA show. It was Boomer Central, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they loved the LPVOs, the Tomahawks and the Arrowheads. They loved them, right? The glass is great, quality's great, it's easy to look through, price point's great. They loved it. And they all said the same thing. Like 50 guys said the same thing at NRA show. I would buy this if you would just cut out this fancy BDC nonsense that I don't understand and give me a duplex reticle like my old Loophole.
10 millimeter. Yeah.
And I would buy it. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah. If you made this in 10 millimeter, I would buy it. Mm-hmm, sure.
Everybody.
Yeah. So like an idiot, I went home and was like, oh boy, I know what we're gonna do. So we did a Spear Duplex reticle. It was illuminated in the middle. It didn't cost any more. We developed the whole thing. We put it out there. Crickets chirping.
Yeah.
And what happened? So I started reaching out to people, like, hey, what's the feedback on these? What are you hearing? And what it was is that those guys were basically the same guys were like, well, I thought about it, but what's it do that the scope I already have doesn't do? I already got one that I bought in 1988 with a duplex reticle, and I got a deer with it 4 years ago and did okay there. So I don't really need a new scope. So
that is one of the problems of asking people what they want without them having to put their money into it. Is
it's hard, man.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is. I'll weigh in if you don't mind.
Go for
it. So me personally, I absolutely love the Donut of Death. It is my favorite reticle, bar none, for rifle, short CQB type stuff, and then for pistol dot. I love the Donut of Death. However, I think most people don't use it. I think most people like a single dot. I think even the people who buy the MRS Holosuns are using just the dot. And the people who like to have the donut, I don't think that they use it the way that I use it or anything like that. Most of the people that I shoot with don't use the donut or the larger circle. I do, and I love it, but most people don't.
I think this is one man's personal opinion. This is not backed up by any data. This is not backed up by me knowing anything that regular Joe doesn't know. So I love this. This is the Rock. It's basically a box. It's super simple. It's super tough. Like, we've got a torture test on our YouTube channel. This thing's it's stupid tough. Let me see if I can show you the reticle on it. So that's, yeah, it's fuzzy because of the camera focus.
Yep.
But it's a big circle dot, right? The thing looks like a basketball right now. But it's bright and it's green.
If you got astigmatism, that's what they all look like.
Yeah, right.
That's true.
Which I do. I just have to fight through it. So it's so big. I call this like the training dot. It's great for newbies. It's great for guys who they're working on, coming up from low ready. And where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, now I can start shooting. And you kind of see them swirl the muzzle around a little bit. They haven't got their presentation right. I spend a lot of time at booths when we go to conventions, gun con and trigger con also. I spend a lot of time talking to guys about presenting and trying to find the dot. And I got a bunch of stories I can tell you about that. But with a big ring, if your presentation isn't spot on, you might see a corner of that ring first.
Mm-hmm.
Then it kind of clues you in. Oh, there it is. Okay. And you can kind of make an adjustment as you press out. So I think newbies like that a lot. They like the circle dots. The new guys really like it. But then once you've climbed Dry Fire Mountain and you've got your 3,000 reps in to where you've got your presentation perfect and you're presenting the same way every time, then I think the ring starts to get a little cluttery. And a lot of people are like, I still want to mess with all that. I just want a single point of aim. I don't need the help anymore.
Yeah.
So that's my personal theory on it.
Yeah, I typically the only reason I use the donut of death on both is just because it's manual of arms. It's just, for me, I pick up my rifle, it's the same. If I transition to pistol, it's the same. It's for me, it's just that manual of arms. It's easy.
I have an Advocate, which is a 1X prism scope that we launched at SHOT Show. It's stupid good for the money, guys. Oh my God. If you have astigmatism and you kind of struggle with red dots and you want like a 1X that's very, very close to being a red dot, the new 1X prisms are stupid good for the money. I mean, it's like such a bargain at what we're selling it for. And the one that I've got on a Beretta 1301 shotgun. But it's basically a triangle dot. I got a triangle in the middle. It's very PCC friendly. It's a triangle in the middle that lights up nice and bright with a ring around it. And I've got on our Instagram. If you check our Instagram on GideonOptics.com, I've got a video of me cleaning a plate rack at 15 yards in less than 2.5 seconds. Whoa, behind the 12 gauge. Woo. Bam, 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 bam. Right. And it's just because it's so smooth and easy and it's so familiar and everything, but like it's optically so good. The new prism scopes are so amazing. You can use a 3X magnifier behind it, which you couldn't do with the old prism scopes. It was like a parallax nightmare, and it was a eye relief nightmare. The new ones, the eye relief is so amazing. I can crawl up to it like this. I can use it like this. I can put it on an Ultimac on an AK where it's hanging out on the handguard and it still looks great. Everything's sharp. Everything's in focus. Like for just over $200, they're stupid good. So yeah, there's a total like product show from the Gideon Optics guy, but you can tell like that's how I feel though. I'm totally. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today who's in the Israeli Defense Forces. He's actually in the northern part of Israel, and they're getting ready for Hezbollah to roll south and start an offensive to try to take pressure off of Gaza. And he's like asking me to try to help him out with the stuff that they've got and just try to help like any way that I can. Right.
Yeah.
And they're running like, dude, the stuff that they're running. I mean, they're running carry handle ARs, and they've got they've got Mipro lights on gooseneck mounts. They're not very bright. They don't. I mean, the good news is they don't take a battery. The bad news is that they're super slow and you can't see them. Because it's little fiber optic dealy, and it's very dependent on the direction of the light's coming from and having enough light hitting the fiber optic. It's like in 2024, it's like, why would you even mess with that? But it's what they've got,
Yeah, it's what they're still.
It's what they got. You go to war with what you have, right?
Yep.
And they're trying so hard. They're trying so hard to get whatever they can, and I was like, dude, I wish I could sell you a freaking crate, a pallet of advocates, man. I would send you guys a pallet of 1X prism scopes, and you would be like kings on earth compared to the opposition. We have it so lucky here in the United States. We have really good stuff that doesn't cost very much.
Yeah.
And we just go and I poke holes in paper and I ring steel with it, and I'm like, yeah, that was fun. And like, there are other people who are dying and fighting in the far corners of the earth with equipment that you and I would turn our noses up on and go, ooh, why are you fielding an SKS? Well, it's because that's what you can get.
That's all. Yeah, that's all there is.
It's better than a stick. Gee whiz.
And like you said, here in the U.S., we're on Facebook groups saying, "Oh yeah, I'd rather have the stick," and making fun. Yeah, and the truth is, no. In the reality is, no. Push comes to shove, we have it so much easier, so much better, so much easier.
Yeah, we really do. So yeah, so I'm very grateful, and if you ever get a chance to talk with someone who's actually living in a war zone and has to wear his plates all day every day, and his shoulders are just cut up from the weight, and all he wants to do is go back home to his wife and kids and be a tour guide. It's literally what he wants to do with his life, and he can't, because you know what? There's no tourists coming to Israel.
Yeah.
So out there he is, on patrol with a bunch of other guys that would rather be home. Boys, we got it easy.
Well, and that's the truth. Even when you think about his job as a tour guide versus what some of these guys over here have as a job, they're more prepared as a tour guide than some of these guys over here that they bounce back and forth from flipping burgers and movie tickets. I mean, it's almost sad, just the lack of capability that guys in our country have, the younger generation, if you will.
Well, and that would bring me, once again, let's show for the Gideon Optics, modus operandi. But I've talked about it before. That's why I believe so much in a quality budget optic.
Yeah.
Because the young guys, they're the ones that are renting. They don't own their homes. Like they're flipping burgers. They're working the movie theater. You know what? If you're out there and you're flipping burgers and working a movie theater, that's good, honest work.
Yeah.
You're doing what you can with what you got, and the Second Amendment applies to you. And if you can get a $300 PSA dagger and a $200 Gideon optic on it, and go ring steel on weekends, and you carry that thing,
yeah.
And if something goes wrong, and they come for your life at the gas station when you're filling up your car, and you pull out that PSA dagger and you do what has to be done, I don't think anybody ever got back up off the ground and said, if you'd had a Trijicon and you'd shot me with a 10 millimeter, it would have hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not how that works.
No, you're absolutely correct. That's one of the reasons why I have no regrets having transitioned a lot of my work. I still have my high-end stuff that I do a lot of, but I spend a lot of time on the PSA Dagger group, because that's where guys a lot of them start out and learn. And maybe the dagger's their first, or maybe they upgraded that high point to a dagger, but they
need help. They need help from people that really mean it. That don't scare them away. Don't say, stop being poor. Go back to your ninja stars.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Don't do that. Bring them in. Come on. I can help.
Come in. Let me teach you a few things. Let's get started. That Amazon laser, not the best thing to use, but you know what? It's I had a laser on a pistol for a while. We all, I grew up with the 80s and 90s movies. The laser
Oh
was
yeah.
the coolest thing ever. You got Predator 2 when they had the lasers on the top of his like Python or whatever it was. So,
Oh yeah.
we've one of my first cars, I wanted badly to have one of those Honda Civic wings on the back. We all start somewhere,
We all
and
start somewhere.
we're gonna do some bad stuff.
Hey, speaking of PSA, there's Matt. Oh yeah.
Hey,
We got to stop talking bad about PSA.
we're not talking bad about
I know.
PSA.
I'm just
Well, maybe
I'm
we
not
are,
really
Matt.
sure he's alive.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna talk bad about PSA since he hasn't hasn't had a chance to come on the show. He was here last year, and now he died at SHOT
Yeah,
Show.
I'm not sure this is really him here.
Yeah, he died at SHOT Show. He got COVID while he was out there. Hell, they'll probably take the stream down for me saying COVID at this point. We are in an election year, so who knows what YouTube will do.
So Matt is here now. So let's talk about other YouTubers for a second, because that's the kind of guy I am. So Garantham came out with a video today where they took a $300 PSA upper, and it's like an hour-long video. And I was watching it as I was cleaning up my bedroom and stuff. It was an hour-long video. They took a $300 PSA upper, and they ran it with a full auto lower suppressed, like mag dump after mag dump after mag dump, and they would stop every 1,000 rounds and check it for groups.
Yeah.
And then they had a guy who works for another manufacturer who came in and was doing like very exacting measurements of like cam pin stretch and the coincide the roundness of the channel that the bolt goes into the carrier. Like the guy was like he had really cool kind of like a go no go gauge for a barrel, like a headspace gauge. He had gauges for bolt carrier groups where you could slip things in and out. You could see if it fit and what the exact dimension was, blah 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 blah. And so they wind up running like 6,000 rounds, to spoil Grantham for those who haven't seen it. They run 6,000 rounds of full auto suppressed.
Yeah.
Heating up the crap out of this $300 upper. So if I checked SG Ammo, SGammo.com is where I like to get some ammo from. Most of their 5.56 is like 50 cents a shot right now. Oof, but it is. It's 50 cents a shot. So they ran 6,000 rounds through the gun. They spent $3,000 to wear out the barrel on a $300 PSA upper, and it was still mag dumping great full auto at the end. It just the groups opened up when it got hot. And it stopped being like 1.13 MOA or whatever. And
as one would expect.
Yeah. And so then they have this guy who's talking about the difference. I swear to you guys, this is going someplace, right? This guy's talking about the difference between the bolt in the PSA gun and the bolt in a $4,000 Knights Armament gun. And he's like, so you can see the wear patterns here. The wear pattern is uneven on this side, which means it's pressing more on the other side. And he's got his little calipers out and all that stuff. And so they're like, oh, that's really interesting. And, on the Knights Armament, with a similar round count, the wear patterns are more even, blah, blah, blah. And so like for $4,000, you get a more even wear pattern. Right. And then the kicker is the guy's like, yeah, but really bolts are like a consumable item and you should probably replace it every 5,000 rounds anyway, just in case. So if you've got a $4,000 Knights Armament with 5,000 rounds through it, you need another Knights Armament bolt so you can be a cool guy with a Knights Armament bolt anyway. And this did just fine at $300, at the, and I'm like, this is us. This is Gideon. This is why I love PSA so much, because it's the same for a customer. Yeah. If it shoots like less than 2 MOA, which is less than the military standard for the M4, by the way, you're a brand new Colt M4 that shoots 3 MOA or whatever, that sucker's making it into the armory. That's not a return.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So it's shooting better than the military specification. It's run fantastic. It's a fantastic deal, right? The money that you spend is amazing. $300 upper. They've got great customer service, got a great warranty. After you've worn out the barrel or whatever, you can give them a call. They're going to put in a new barrel for you for cheap or for nothing at all, maybe. Right.
Yeah.
But is the $4,000 Knights Armament a better rifle? Yes, because of the wear pattern.
Well,
I mean, and we know that the Knights is a better rifle, but it's like, for what you're doing with it, for what most of us are doing with it, does it really matter that much? And I'm like, that's Gideon Optics. Like, we do red dot stuff for $220 that the other guys do for $600.
Yeah.
Do they do it better? Yeah, kind of. Sometimes they're a little bit brighter, and like Hollison's got a solar panel on theirs. That's cool. We can't do that. But like, we're still doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Like,
no, like you said, you're the guy that gets guys started, and most of the time, people who are out there shooting, they don't need that $600 Trijicon optic that it's like I said, honestly, this is the most expensive optic that I've ever bought.
what is
and
that?
the only reason
RMRCC.
Yeah, it's the RMRCC. And again, I said the only reason I have this is because they only cut this slide with the RMRCC footprint, and there's no plates for it. So, and there was no other options for an optic. It's a nice optic. It looks really beefy. I'm sure I could drop it a lot, and it would survive, but I don't plan on dropping it. If I do drop it and it did break, let's say I had a cheaper one and it did break, I would use the iron sights until I could replace the optic. I mean, that's, I'm not that
I
fancy.
have since I've started working with Gideon, I have dropped one optic on accident, like one legitimate oops optic drop. And it wasn't even attached to a gun at the time. It was attached to a slide, but I was doing a red dots versus iron sights video, and I had two slides on a Glock. I had a Patmos slide with the Omega on it, and I had a standard Glock G17 slide, and it was like, all right, I'm going to do these drills with the iron sights, then I'm going to switch slides, then I'm going to do the drills again with the dot, and vice versa, and we're going to go back to back, and we're going to see if I'm any faster and better with the dot, which of course I was. But that slide, kind of like the ones that I have over here that are sitting on this table now, I knocked it off the table on accident, and thunk, down it goes onto the concrete, scratched up that unit. So like, we can't use that unit for product photography anymore. It doesn't look sexy on Instagram because it's all beat up. Fine, whatever. Still works. It's fine. But that's like, man, I'm drowning in optics, and I do this stuff all day, every day. I'm always going to the range. I'm shooting. I'm putting rounds down range. I carry my stuff. I carry Gideon. How often do guys really drop things? I don't know.
You're right. Like you said, if there's anybody who's around optics and who's going to drop one and have, real world experience, it's a guy like yourself who's around optics every day. It's kind of like Triggers and myself. I dry fire triggers literally every single day. So I've seen the different types of failures that can happen. So when I see something online, I normally, unless they put it together wrong, which does happen, I'm around that type of stuff, just like you would be around dropping an optic if that was going to happen. And like you said, you dropped it off a slide because you were doing testing. So,
I don't know. Everybody likes drop testing. We do drop testing. We do torture test videos on our own YouTube channel.
37 feet.
YouTube channel. We've got them too. People like to see expensive stuff break. But I actually think really what Grand Thumb did with that PSA video is more realistic of like, what happens if you shoot thousands of rounds through this thing in a short period of time and you like burn that sucker down. How many slide reciprocations does it take to shake this thing to death? That's more interesting to me. Can we go 40,000 rounds, 50,000 rounds, 60,000 rounds? Doesn't matter if it's a 9mm or a 10mm or a 45. Does it really matter? Or is just the fact that the slide's going back and forth at basically the same rate It all pretty much it shakes out to be pretty much the same. You know,
See, and
those are the interesting questions for me.
I think that's actually a more valid question. You know, drop testing and all that's great, but like you said, slide reciprocations, how it stands up to that, your different like I said, 10 millimeter, the Lord's caliber 357 SIG, you know,
Also known as 40 flashbang.
yeah, you know, something like that, where that is actually more you know, relevant than just a drop test. You want something that's going to hold up to, you know, 1,000 slide reciprocations, or you know, how is the mounting going to hold up, or well, as we were talking earlier, when it comes to the, you know, whether your slide has the actual guideposts around your red dot mounting, or whether, you know, for manufacturing reasons they've gotten rid of those posts, so you're just relying on the other little posts. You know, there's a lot that goes into it, other than just dropping it, but dropping it does look better on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. I mean, I don't hardly watch any I don't watch near as much gun YouTube as I did when I first got into this, just because I'm around it every single day. But I used to watch the military arms channel when he would do the gauntlets and stuff like that, or they would put full auto Glock, and you know, they'd run like 50,000 rounds through it before it would blow up. All that stuff is cool, but you know, how relevant truly is it?
But on the other hand, like I said, I talked earlier today with a guy at a combat zone who none of that stuff is applicable. He's actually getting ready to fight in real deal combat against people who want to see him and his family dead at distance with a rifle. Okay, that's what he's faced with, and we're drop testing and all that stuff is the last thing on his mind.
He just needs something that works.
He wants his rifle to be clean, and he wants it to be reliable, and he's concerned because they don't have PMags. They've got ancient aluminum mags that have unknown provenance that have been in the system for years and years, and nobody knows how many rounds those mags have through them. Right? Like, those are his concerns. So it's funny. There's this, like, there's a disconnect on social media between what we like to see and what the influencer guys are showing us versus what's going on in the real world. And I see it in a lot of different spheres. I see it in even like taking pistol classes, the competition thing, you know, the arguments about how competition will get you killed in the streets guy. That's one guy. Then you have the other guy that's like, well, I won't take a class from anybody who wasn't a veteran because, you know, I want someone who's been there and done that. So if you don't have a DD-214, you don't have anything to teach me. And like, there's a lot of noise out there, and like the realism of it is, we gotta figure out a way to inject as much realism into this as we can. I know I'm tangenting here, but
no, we're
I'm passionate about this stuff, you know.
Yes.
I got a friend. So like taking a concealed carry class. In fact, I just realized I'm still carrying right now in my own house. So I've got my backup gun is still on me. It's a Snubby 38 backup gun, right? So let's say that I get done with the podcast and I'm gonna go get gas in my car. I go to the gas station, and a guy peels himself off the wall, and he comes up to me at the gas station, and he's doing the old, hey, can I talk to you for something? I need $4. I need bus fare, $4. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Because in Houston, that never happens. This is purely theoretical. I've never had that happen in Houston, Texas. Okay?
Louisiana, it's all over the place. So
right. So I have a friend who was a legitimate Green Beret. You know, right? And I'm stealing his words here, and I'm not going to name him because I don't want him to get any blowback on this.
Yeah.
But he has this speech that he does where he's like, all right, so I'm a veteran, so you should listen to me about what to do at that gas station. So here's what's going to happen, right? The support element's going to open fire with a Maudus that's mounted on the Humvee from a distance of 500 meters. Then the assault element assaults through the objective, which will be the gas station, upon initiation of fire from the platoon leader. After you get through the objective, you will pop smoke and check. And he does this whole thing, right?
The whole
Right?
squad,
Because
yeah.
he's a veteran and he's a Green Beret, and that's how they would assault a gas station. He can tell you the whole thing. If we got to take a gas station, that's how we're going to do it. It's going to be an L-shaped ambush. There's a support element, and then Bravo actual element will.
It's gonna look like a jungle scene out of Predator.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what does that have to do with me in a 5-shot snubby?
Correct.
At 11:30 at night at a gas station in Houston? How does that help me? All of your years of experience as a veteran, does that apply to my threat level and me being by myself? I'm not a cop. I don't have a radio. I can't call for backup. I don't have qualified immunity, so I can't pull out my gun and point it at somebody that's not a lethal threat, because that's aggravated assault.
Correct.
Right? So even taking classes from cops, they love to teach you stuff that they'll arrest you for actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
Cops are always working from the low ready. We're going to start from the low ready. How often does a concealed carrier get to use the low ready?
Only
I don't pull my gun out until I see a lethal threat. And guys lie to themselves about this shit online all the time. It drives me crazy. Okay, so let's just work through this for a second. That guy has shown me that he's a lethal threat. Now what I'm going to do is get the drop on him.
It's already too late at that point. If he's shown,
you're in his world, man. He's coming to you. This is what he does all the time. He's the bad guy. He robs people every week. That's what he does. I used to be a public defender. I used to work with these guys. I that's what got me into guns.
Yeah.
Was that I was in court and these guys would be like, "Yeah, man, I caught a rape case. I caught a robbery case." Like, what do you mean you caught a case? All they do is rape women. All they do is rob places. That's what they do. They're doing this for the 50th time. You're doing it for the first time. You're going to get the drop on them after they've shown themselves to be a lethal threat? No. You're going to need a really shit hot draw to first shot time with whatever you've got. And you better do something pretty darn decisive with those first 5 rounds of 38 special. Because reloading a revolver in a fight ain't so good.
True.
Right? True. That's realistic. That's what's really going on out there. That's what this is for. That's what this is for. This is to help you train and give you an edge, any edge that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
At up close, at distance, anything that you can get that will help you. I will sell it to you for $220. That's all it takes.
Because you're opening the door for more people to have access to that, because we're in 2024. The technology has gotten to the point where this one for $600 or $500, you can get 90% of that in something that's $200. That's progress. You're opening that ability up to bring people into the future.
Having the gun on you, having the dot on the gun, having quality ammo in the gun, having quality training time behind the gun, because you could afford to do something like a class.
Yeah.
Instead of spending $600, $700 on an optic, you bought a $200 optic, and then you took a $150 class from somebody that knows what they're doing. Somebody who's, here's another shill, somebody who is range master certified. If you see this means that instructor doesn't suck. They know something. Because if you're going to put instructor in front of your name, you better know something.
Agreed.
So take a class from somebody who's got a good certification, and you stand a chance. You stand a better chance than the poor guy that said, well, since I can't afford a CZ Shadow 2 with a enclosed emitter dot on it, then I guess I'm just gonna
carry a pocket knife. Yeah. And you can't carry any pocket knife because you got to, you spent the money that you had on a Benchmade instead.
Yeah,
so
I confess I carry the cheapest, trashiest knives because I'm hard on them, and Sometimes they get lost. Sometimes they get lent out. Sometimes, they can get taken away because I forgot about it at the airport and the TSA confiscates it or whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
carrying no $250 folding knife. Are you kidding me?
I
No
like
way.
I like a good cheap Kershaw or the one nice one that because I'm a tinkerer and I spend money on stupid crap. I used to buy different knives, and finally I got a Spyderco, and I have fallen in love with that one. And I keep that, and it's not an expensive knife in comparison to some. I love that Spyderco. It's a great knife.
Yep.
But I also love some cheap Kershaws. Man,
I've got a couple of Kershaws. I got a CRKT. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's like this. It's and I have done some knife training. Again, if you're not trained, what good's it going to do you? I know just enough about knife fighting to know that I never want to get into a knife fight. F that. I'm going to the gun. I never want to get into a knife fight. That's the worst. Forget it.
For me, they're great opening boxes because my warehouse guy, which is myself, and shipping guy, which is also myself, and my receiving guy, which is also myself, he's got to open a lot of boxes. So that's about as knife trained as I am, and probably because I'm kind of a hermit because it's just myself. I don't think I'll get into a knife fight because I'm always at home, literally.
Yeah. Well,
I would never want to get in a knife fight. That does seem just
the great thing about a firearm is that you can say, I want to stab that guy 3 times from way over here.
yes.
Yes. I carry a gun because I can't carry 15 swords in my pocket. But I got 15 remote control swords that'll stab you right through, all the way through.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, at one time, having a gun was, that was the expensive, that was technology. And here we are at a point where it's easier to get into,
Oh, and
time changes.
The variety of stuff that's out there that's high quality stuff. It's like dots. Like, we're not the only new dot company out there. There's multiple new dot companies out there that are trying to do what we're doing, and they're trying to grow their brands and everything. And it can be confusing and bewildering, unless you really get into the weeds. Why is ours better than the other guys? We talk about those things, but like this tea sauce. Who the heck is tea sauce? Who knows who those guys are? Something Turkish gun, something. They just copy other people's stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is half of it. This is a hell of a good little gun for not very much money at all. I mean, it is really amazingly good.
Well, 5 years ago, or 5 or 6 years ago, Canik was like that.
Yeah, exactly. And but like, when I was first getting into guns in the 1990s, because I'm old, it was 1911s, Smith & Wesson revolvers. Occasionally you'd see like a Browning high power. Occasionally you'd see a guy with a Beretta 92 or a Sig 226. And that was it. Like almost everybody it was 1911s everywhere as far as the eye could see, right?
Yeah.
And they were pricey. Like a good 1911, you'd start out with a Colt that was $800 and then send it to a Smith to fix all the stuff that Colt got wrong when they made it, right? So then anybody who knew what they were doing was wearing a $2,000 1911, and that was a lot of money in 1995, 1996. My first gun, I will admit, we were talking about, we've all been there. We've all had the Ricer wing on the back of our Civic.
Yes.
My first gun I got in college was a Smith & Wesson Sigma in 40 cal.
Oh, okay. The clone.
Because I was new, and the guy behind the guy behind the desk at the Bass Pro said, these have just come out and they're just as good as a Glock for $300, and it's chambered in the new 40 cal that is the future. All the law enforcement guys are moving to this 40 cal, and you should too. And I went, whoa, that's the one for me.
Yeah.
And that was my first gun. I mean, like, I look back on it now and I'm like, oh,
It's funny because my first gun was almost an SD40, which is the second variation of the Sigma after they got sued. I really wanted that gun. But I got a Glock shortly thereafter, and here I am. But yeah, good old Sigma.
I went the Taurus route.
Okay.
My first pistol was a PT 111 9mm compact.
I've actually shot a couple of the PT 111, the G2, which is the next variation. Yeah. Millennium. Not a bad, a half bad little gun. The first gun I ever stippled was a PT-111, and you can see how well my stippling career has gone.
You know what sucks is so I had my first pistol forever.
Yeah.
And then I find out that it got recalled, right? Because of the lock mechanism or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And something happened, a recoil spring or something. It folded over the piece, so the recoil spring separated.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a replacement. And I contact the company and they're like, yeah, you have to send us the whole pistol and we'll send you a new G2C to replace it. But you don't have a choice. Now you've notified us that you have it. It's any other, it's part of a recall. Here you go.
We're going to arrest you if you don't send your gun in.
That's how I felt. I mean, so now I have this brand new G2C. I have absolutely no rounds through, and it's just going to represent my first pistol from here on out.
Shoot the thing. You might be surprised. Again,
it's not a bad little gun.
Second shameless plug for our Instagram for the night. But go to the Gideon Optics Instagram account, and you can see I've got some Instagram content of the new Taurus Toro, which is the first, to my knowledge, it's the first optics ready factory revolver. That's not like Smith & Wesson Performance Center maybe did something a while back, but like optics ready for a RMSC footprint, mass produced, under $400. They're like $389 or something like that. Maybe retails like $425 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Little 3-inch Taurus 6-shot 38. And there's a video I've got a bunch of pictures and stuff, but I've got a video on our Instagram of me shooting that at 50 yards on a cold performance, live or die, cold performance, first shots of the day. Can you hit at 50 yards? With a dotted revolver. And I got to tell you, the little Taurus Toro has won me over. It shoots way better than it has any right to. And the trigger is way smooth. And like, if it wasn't a 50-yard gun, I wouldn't have put that on Instagram. Spoiler alert. So
I'll check that out.
Is it alloy frame or steel frame?
It's all stainless.
Okay.
Yeah, whole thing's stainless, and it's that sort of bead blasted matte stainless. So it's not a polished stainless like the old ones. It's a matte finish, and my only complaint about it is that matte finish, the bead blasting. It really it gets dirty fast, like the pores. I think the powder gets into them or whatever. It's hard to keep the gun looking clean, but it also doesn't really care if it's run dirty. Like it looks ugly and dirty, but it still shoots lights out anyway. So I don't care.
It'd be a good one to get Cerakoted.
Yeah.
If you wanted to keep it clean, I would imagine.
Yeah. Or just make it look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Taurus is they revamped their QC. They're also for the people. They're at that Gideon PSA price point where they're doing really quality stuff with a good warranty, no BS. You can get a lot of work done with that little gun.
I've never been a big Taurus hater. I had a PT-92 that I liked. I just have little girl hands, so it didn't quite fit my hands. But growing up in the 90s and the 92 Beretta 92 was all over the place. So I had to have one. It just didn't quite fit my little girl hands. I ended up trading it off, but I do wish I still had it. That PT-111 G2, good little gun. I've never had a lot of hate for Taurus. I do like some inexpensive guns. I mean, I spend a lot of money on a Dodge Neon, so I have no room to talk. Okay.
Your Dodge Neon is not the average Dodge Neon, though. Let's admit.
When it runs.
Yeah, that thing's yeah.
I just want to know when all of them are running, like consecutively.
I gotta go. I don't even. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that right now.
I had a Camaro once that is a lot like your Project Neon. I called it the Millennium Falcon because when it ran, it was crazy fast.
Yeah.
But most of the time it was, it's not my fault. I just fixed it. I swear to God.
That was me today because I drove it yesterday and I tortured it. I gave it it ran great. And then on the way home, it stopped running great. And I did some work to it. I thought I'd figured out what maybe the issue was, and I went to go take it to the gas station to just check and see, and it ran like crap. I think I figured it out again, but every time it's something new, and it's so sad because that car, I used to daily drive that car and beat the living shit out of it and keep it together, and now it's like it's fighting me all of those times that it never did.
Well, it's because you
Like,
bought another one.
well, there's that. Like
you're running into the next weak link. It's the next thing that's getting ready to go.
Yes, and I really just want to drive that car because where it's at right now, it's there. Like it's fast. Like this thing is just going. Like it wants to go. I mean, from a dead stop to 130
Whatever.
miles an hour,
Yeah.
it just pulls like a freight train. And then it stops running the way it should. But once I figured it out,
Glock is in the back going,
yes,
wrench, right?
Oh my God. It's just like, come on, just run. You used to do this I drove that car for like 3 or 4 years daily. I mean, and I beat the hell out of it. And I depended on it to drive to work and across the country. And now I can't even get it to the gas station, it seems like. And I've replaced so much stuff and fixed things and rebuilt the engine. And it's like, why are you doing this to me? I'm treating you better than I ever have.
Yeah.
The common denominator seems to be whenever you get into the engine bay, it stops becoming real.
I know. And that kills me because I know I'm not a good mechanic. I know I'm not a great mechanic, but I feel like I should be. Like the government trusted me to put multi-million-dollar aircraft back into the sky. I mean, they got rid of me, but maybe there's a reason why. Maybe it's all coming together. Shit. I don't know.
I do just enough wrench turning to be grateful that I don't do it for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
that's pretty much the same here.
I know just enough to fix just enough things. The only thing I won't do is the electrics. If it's electrical, I'll just write a check. Somebody else figure it out. Thank you very much for your time. Forget it. But I can do body work. I can turn a wrench. I'm pretty handy. But like, if I've been bashing on the underside of a car for a few hours, I'm like, man, I'm glad I wasn't a mechanic for a living.
I have a lot of respect for guys like that. We got it in the chat there. MR2 Scroll. He's a mechanic on some high performance stuff, and I wish I could hire him because he's a badass.
The answer is always more boost.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
It's much like cowbell in the automotive world.
I'm running pretty decent. 25 psi is nothing to joke about. So I
mean, 26 is better.
26 is better. My plan is 30. My plan is 30, and it'll do it. I just got to get there.
It'll do it once.
It'll do it. It'll hold it. That engine. Well, it's supposed to do it. Damn it.
Yeah, it'll do it one time. Every boat is a submarine one time.
Hey, that Challenger will eat 12 psi. So when you're ready, Mike, I do have a supercharger sitting. I'm just saying it may have come off my, since I replaced the other one.
I might have locked myself into keeping the my Challenger mostly stock.
I don't blame you. You should. You really should.
It's fast enough to be fun. It's fast enough to be entertaining but the dealership that I got mine from, so when I bought my Challenger, the way the car market is right now, you can't really talk them down on price very much. They pretty much, the price is pretty set. It's pretty hard to talk them down on price, right?
Yeah.
And they knew I wanted the car. I knew I wanted the car. So what we did was we talked them down as much as we could on all the add-ons that they try to sell you in the financing department.
Mm-hmm.
So we got all the warranty packages that we could, and we either made them give us them for free or heavily discounted.
Yeah.
So like I've already gotten a free tire because I caught a flat. They're like, oh, it's on the sidewall, free tire, done, $0, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, right? The windshield gets shattered, new windshield, done. I don't have to worry about it because the windshields are darn expensive now. The old days, the windshield was like $120. They're stupid now.
Not anymore. They're quite expensive now.
Yeah.
I got to replace mine actually.
So this dealership has, if I go to the dealership for my oil changes and I do an oil change every 5,000 miles, I get lifetime powertrain warranty. As long as I own the car and I've done an oil change every 5,000 miles, anything goes wrong that's not a wearable part, like eventually I'm going to blow the clutch. I'll have to pay for the clutch because it's a wearable part. That's fine. That's fair. But anything that goes wrong in the driveline is on them, right?
Yeah.
But that also means I can't throw a supercharger on there. That ain't going to work. That will void that, right?
Yeah, it leaves they can track that stuff now in the computer.
I'm stuck with my paltry 370 horsepower.
Yeah.
But
I forgot you do have the 6-speed.
Yeah. I've got the 6-speed. But the great news is that Houston is an awesome town to drive like a complete maniac because no one else notices.
Some of the fastest cars I know.
I do stuff every day that would get me arrested back in Kansas City. Because Kansas City is full of people that are like, I'm doing 3 over.
Houston, it's 20 over, and
we're doing that. Like Houston, I love it. But like the other day, what was I doing? I was on 45. 45 is the highway that goes between Houston and Dallas. I was heading up to meet actually an influencer buddy of mine for dinner, and so I'm in the Challenger running up there, and I'm doing 80 and a 65, right?
Yeah.
And a constable passes. I'm in the left lane doing 80 and a 65. A constable passes me on the right because I was in his way.
Yeah.
Like 0 F's given. Whatever, dude, do your thing. He didn't even twitch, you know. So he's got to be doing like 90 in a 65. No lights, no siren. It's just Thursday night. You know, that's Houston, baby.
Trust me, Houston has some of the fastest cars in the entire country. And
if you're not making 1,000 horsepower in Houston, you're nobody.
This is correct.
And I'm nobody.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy in the Challenger.
I know enough people in Houston and have been in some of that crowd that all my stuff is just a joke compared to what they've got. Houston's crazy. And which is really weird that they don't have any drag strips anymore. In the area. The closest one is to me.
8 Mile. I've got a buddy named Jamal who runs stripped out extended wheelbase Hayabusas and stuff at the 8th Mile. And they run cars up there. So they'll still doing the 8th Mile, but they don't have a quarter-mile track anymore.
Yeah, quarter mile. The last one closed down. Oh, has it been 2 years? No, I think it was last year. The can't remember the name of the track.
There's places in the surrounding area where you can go, but yeah, man. I used to work at a drag strip, Kansas City International Raceway in Kansas City.
I know where that's at.
Yep. Now it's nothing.
Nothing. That's been sick. That's been a while ago.
I told you I'm old. I'm almost 50 years old.
Well, I remember when it closed down. I was already.
Hold on, almost 50.
Yep.
Shit, I would have guessed like 65, bro.
Love you too. This is the Santa Claus beard, man. Right? I need to hit the gym. I should be doing some kettlebells while I talk to y'all.
There you go.
Jeez.
Well, I mean,
It's all love. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we're getting up there. We're 40. I'll be 41 this year.
I am 40.
I'll be 41 this year.
That's when the good times start. Man,
I
didn't get married again until I was 44 or 45. No, 45. Yeah. Life can start in your mid 40s, boys. It really can.
I agree. I don't feel old. I still feel like I'm younger than people. You know, I remember people complaining about hitting 40, and I don't. Like I said, I've been 40 almost a year. It's almost over. I'm still doing all right.
Just a number, man.
Yeah.
Just an arbitrary number. How many times have you been around the sun? That's all that is, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel better. I mean, I'm working for a great company, making a product that I believe in at a good price. I don't have to BS anybody about what I do, right? That's really important to me. Like if you and I know James, you know me personally. Brandon, I don't really know you as well, but like it's really important to me to be the same guy, no matter who's in the room. Like I joke that Jordan, my boss, came into the comments section. Oh no, now I have to watch what I say, right? That's a joke. Everybody knows that's a joke. Yeah. But there are a lot of guys who are a very different person when their boss is around. right?
Yeah.
And they're a different person in front of their wife, and they're a different person in front of their kids, and they're a different person in front of their pastor, and they're a different person in front of the waiter that they're yelling at the restaurant. They're a different person when UPS screwed up their delivery and it was supposed to come today and it didn't. And they're a different person depending on who they're dealing with, and that like implied power level of, do I have more power than you, or do you have more power than me, and what part of town do you live in versus what part of town do I live in, and they act differently, right? I get to be the same guy. I'm the same guy right now that I am in our SHOT Show booth, that I am with my wife, that I am with my kids, that I am anywhere I go. I get to be the same guy. And I'm so grateful. I've got an awesome wife. I've got 2 kids that are going to make something out of themselves. They're not they're stepkids, but I get along really well with them, which is also amazing, because if it was a Disney movie, I'd be the bad guy. The stepfather's always the bad guy, right?
There wouldn't be a father if it was a current Disney movie.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, I don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah, we
But
could go
like,
way off on that one.
what you see is I'm the same person. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in the room. I could have Donald Trump over this shoulder and Elon Musk over this shoulder and Joe Biden around the corner, and I'd still be talking to you the exact same way I am right now, right? And that, to me, that's like my source of happiness, is to just be consistent and to be wholehearted. And what you see is Mike Branson from Gideon Optics, and when you see me doing a booth interview at SHOT Show, or you see me on the street in Houston at the gas station, or whatever, I'm going to be the exact same guy, whoever you are. And a lot of guys are not that lucky, right? They don't have the luxury of honesty. So when I tell you that Gideon Optics, that I'm happy to be here, and that we're doing things the right way, and we're working on new stuff, and the product's going to get better, and it's going to be there for a great price, like, hopefully you believe me, because this is what you get. This is just who I am, guys. This is who I am.
That's something, having known you as long as I have, and then even like seeing you on your personal social media. You're the same, as you said, you're the same guy. You're Mike, Gideon Mike now. That flows pretty well. Swamp Fox Mike.
Yeah, I don't want to be one trick pony and do the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I'm Mike from Gideon, whatever. Yeah,
you're Mike, and that was one of the. You've been who you are, and I see that about you, and it's really cool because you do run into a lot of guys that aren't like that. Even myself, when I was had my corporate job, you do have to put on a different mask. You have to be somebody else for depending on who you're around. That was one of the most freeing things, leaving the corporate world.
Yeah, and then how can you tell what those people really think of you? Because we're all being so professional.
Yeah.
Oh, we're acting professional, but like, you don't know what they really think of you, what they tell their wife about you. They could go home and say, "Oh, I had to spend the whole day with Mike again. What a dumbass he is." But they'll never call you that to your face, because corporate world.
Correct.
You know, it's never going to be, "Hey, dumbass, why don't you do your work?"
Yeah. Man, I don't miss the corporate world at all. That was man.
I love that stuff. I love making decisions. Like Jordan and I are working on R&D, like I was talking about, these new projects. Can we do a giant window dot like the 507 comp? Can we make that? Can we make it happen? Can we do a direct mount MOS? What else can we make? What can we do that people want? What would it cost? Like, I love that stuff. That's so much fun.
That's the really cool part about being a small company like Gideon, is we're talking to a guy who not only is the idea guy, you and him are just about everything to getting that product out to the street, where it's you. That's when that product hits the street, it's Mike's product or it's Jordan's product. It's not 17 levels of
guys too. We've got Bob and Bailey and other guys that are it's a team effort. They get their say as well, and I don't want to leave them behind and make it like it's the Mike Branson show. It's not. I couldn't do. I mean, we wouldn't have accomplished half of how far we've gotten if everybody wasn't all pulling together. We have multiple. It's a good team.
Good
I've
small
got,
team.
like, there are little bits and pieces that are my idea that I can point to and say, oh, that was my idea. I came up with that. I did the reticle in that Advocate Prism scope. I did the reticle in the new first focal plane 1-8.
Yeah.
Boy, I wish I could show you guys that reticle here through the
We'll have to see it on. We'll have to see it on Instagram. You'll have to
Yeah.
put some pictures up on Instagram. Guys can go over there and check it out.
I do. I'm nervous. Like the reason I haven't done it, I've already been shooting it. I've got a production level optic. I've checked that it's true. I've checked that the reticle's correct. We've given the green light to go ahead and make them. Like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be a thing. There will be a Gideon Optics 1-8 by 24 first focal plane. It'll be around a $400 price point. There I go talking about MONEY. Sorry, YouTube guys.
Oh, it's not the actual gun, so we're good.
Yeah, it's not on my hand, right?
Yeah.
But like first focal plane reticles are hard. There's a lot. I obsessed over that reticle for like 2 months. And I can tell you, show me a first focal plane reticle that's already on the market, and I can debunk it. I can tell you exactly what's wrong with it and in what situations it's gonna suck. And like, I tried to make a reticle that will suck less, but first focal plane is really, really hard. It's really hard to get it right. And what generally happens is, again, I can't show you this. We can't roll in B-roll or whatever because it's live. But what generally happens is that guys have a 1-6 or a 1-8, and at full magnification, 6 power, 8 power, it's awesome. And like, this is going to be great, 500 yards, right?
Yeah.
Then when you go to 1 power and you're trying to use it fast, because I'm going to like hose down a stage, we're going to go do some target transitions, and I'm going to run a little course of fire, with my little shoot and no shoot targets. Think, like a USPSA or rifle match stage, something like that. It's so fine and thin that the reticle disappears at 1x, and you're like, where the heck is this thing, right? Like, oh my god, it's just gone, right? So then, well, what do? Well, you spend $2,500 on a Vortex Razor Gen 3 or a Night Force Attacker, and you crank up that nuclear daylight bright diffractive illumination. Where you run it like a red dot, because hey, that's what a $2,500 scope does. Well, we don't have that yet. It would be nice, maybe someday, but we don't have that diffractive reticle illumination yet. So I can't count on the illumination helping me at 1 power. If I can get some illumination to help, that's awesome. And it would be a bonus, but I basically tried to design this thing to where it's a first focal plane reticle where you can see it at 1 power with illumination off. You can still see it very quickly and easily. And there's all of these things that are steering you towards the middle of the scope, going, hey, the middle of the scope is here. This is the part where you want to point that thing at the part you want to hit.
Yeah.
Right. So like, then how do you make that? But then once you zoom in, you don't occlude your field of view with all of this crap.
Yeah.
Now
How do you keep it from being too busy at one end?
Coming in from everywhere at 8x, and you're like, what the heck is all this? What am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah.
So it's really, really hard. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. And I hope that it sells, and I hope that other people like it as much as I do. I will say that there's no substitute for rounds fired downrange, which is why I got one and I have been shooting it, because you can play make believe all you want, but like, there's no substitute for putting it on a gun and going and poking holes in things. That tells you if something really works or not.
That's the truth. You gotta get it out there and test it.
It's like your triggers, dude. Like you've seen me recommend TacticalPontoon triggers over and over again online, and I'm like, I've had this in a Gen 4 Glock 17 for years, and I've got like 6,000 rounds through it, and it pulls exactly the same as it did when I first got it. It's still a 3.4 pound trigger after all these years.
Yeah,
and so much ammo. I've replaced springs in that Glock since I replaced your trigger.
Yeah, you've put a lot of rounds through that Glock, and
it's got a new recoil spring in, and it's got a new striker spring in, and everything, because I hit the recommended interval. Yeah.
And since then I've changed things up. you've moved away from some of your Glock stuff, but I've changed things up because, like you said, if you're not innovating, you're dying. And even though I'm still, haven't innovated past Glock, even though people ask me all the time to do some odd stuff, it doesn't mean I'm not doing things different, a little bit different here and there, because you have to. You have to innovate. You have to change things. There'll be a tactical pontoon trigger before too terribly long, with my logo on it, but it's already a proven design. So, yeah, no, I always changing things up, and it's really cool with Gideon. I see you get a chance to take what you've learned, in the industry, from originally primary to Swamp Fox to now Gideon, and I can tell you for sure, I'm going to be ordering some Gideon optics. I wanted to talk to you first, and like I said, I've got some that need optics. I'm gonna order some up. I won't be doing any sort of like drop tests or anything like that. I'll probably do short little videos or something, just show that I've got it on there. But there are far better people than myself to do, videos on shooting and drop tests, obviously. But
Yeah.
Do burnouts on it, James.
yeah.
That's
What's
what
that?
you need to
Do burnouts on it? Yeah.
Burnouts.
Right.
Yeah.
I got to get something running first. I got to get something running first.
It's okay to be what you are. It's like I was saying, how I feel like I'm lucky to just be the same guy wherever I go. Like, you don't have to claim to be the next Grand Thumb or the next IV 8888 or the next, active self-protection channel. Like, you're good enough for me as you are right now. Whatever your channel size is, wherever this is going to be on the Tactical Pontoon, it's fine. Be what you are. Be yourself, and don't. There's nothing wrong with being a regular dude and being grateful and thankful that we can do regular dude stuff, and that I'm sitting here in front of my reloading bench in my house, with my little sandwich and my coffee, chatting with my bros. And I'm not a Navy SEAL. I was never super secret squirrel, State Department guy. I was never any of those things. I was a lawyer who got tired of lawyering and got scared into being a gun guy because I saw people getting victimized over and over again.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, even when I was in law school, though, I was like a theoretical gun guy. I just didn't know it yet, because we would have these debates in law school, and I would be like, yeah, but here's why the Second Amendment's important, because we have all these other rights as Americans. Like, I'm a big fan of the First Amendment, which is coming under attack in this country in a major way.
Oh yes.
Big fan of the First Amendment, huge fan of it. I have a very important First Amendment right, but if I'm not alive, I can't exercise that First Amendment right. I have to be alive first.
Yes.
So who keeps me alive? Well, me.
Yeah.
So okay, so if I'm going to have to keep myself alive, then I need to have skills and abilities which are at least on par, or if not better, than the bad guys that I saw when I was in the courtroom, that I kept out of jail, then I put them into jail, then I ran my own law firm and ran my whole life into the ground, and hit the reset button in 2010. But for, I need to be better than those guys. I need to be able to defend myself against the guys that I saw in court, because they're real. They're not. It's just not something make believe that they make on the 6 o'clock news, when they tell you so and so. There was a shooting on such and such an address or whatever.
Yeah,
they're not making that stuff up. That happens. It really happens. It just, you weren't there at that time, so it's not real to you until it is.
Mm-hmm.
When I teach pistol classes, my wife and I actually are tag team instructors, and that's a whole different deal. We teach people to shoot, and one of the things that we do, I'm not going to demonstrate it here, but I'll put 3 seconds on a par timer.
Yeah.
Right. So beep, 1, 2, 3, beep, and I'll say, one of the things that Tom Givens at Rangemaster talks about is, he was a law enforcement investigator for many years, and he says, You talk to the people that have been robbed. You talk to people that have been victimized, people that are rape victims, people that have they weren't killed, so they're not a statistic, but they've got like a debilitating injury where they're never going to walk the same way ever again after what happened at 11:30 at the gas station, right? And you talk to them and you interview them about what was going on, how fast did it happen, what happens in the real world, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is mental. It's a mental game. It takes you about 3 seconds to think and to say, I can't believe this is happening to me. About 3 seconds. Can't believe this is happening to me, which is what unprepared people who are not trained and do not have a skill set, generally that's what they do. They go into denial mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 3 seconds, so I do that on a part-time in front of the class. And then, this is planting the seed. And then at some point in the class, I say to my wife, Tess, what else can you do if you have 3 seconds, but you're mentally prepared? Beep. She turns around, gets 3 A-zone shots in a target at 7 yards with time to spare in 3 seconds. Plenty of time.
Yeah.
Draw the first shot. Her draw the first shot's like a second and a half. She's running probably 0.25 splits. Like she's way ahead of a 3 second part-timer, right? But you could do that. You could have 3 holes right here in less than 3 seconds, or you can be in denial, right? To me, like, so, that's the realistic stuff. That's not the we engage with a Humvee and the Ma Deuce from 500 yards, tactical fantasy band camp stuff.
Correct. Correct.
No.
Real life situations, just like having the Toyota Corolla of dots available.
Camry.
Yeah. We'll take a Corolla. They go 200,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep it real. Keep it real, people.
That's always the plan. So we'll wrap up here for tonight, but I want to have you on again, Mike, because it's always good to talk. And I've been meaning to have you on even before you were Gideon, just because there's more optic stuff that we definitely want to talk about. And I get a lot of people that ask me about optics, and I really don't know a lot aside from mounting. So yeah, I'd like to have you back again, talk about some stuff, talk about coming from the same. Like I said, I didn't realize how close in the world that we came from. Like we probably ran into one another at one point in time before.
Some mat somewhere, or trip. Who knows?
Blows me away. But yes,
so,
thank you. Oh, go ahead.
As those questions come up and people ask you stuff, keep it keep a little file or whatever. And then when you have me on again, we can go down the list and be like, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about that?
Yes.
Because I'm basically a comic book nerd, but with optics as my comic books. I mean, I love this stuff.
No, you do. That's one of the things that, like I said, I don't know a lot about it. And if I was doing more of it, I know that's you're my guy to go to. And I was hoping chat would throw a couple more questions in, but yes, I'm going to start saving up some questions. And the whole idea was just bring you on initially, talk things out, whether we talked about optics, whether we talked about cars, which we went the whole spread. Maybe we'll be a little bit more focused on the next one. So
I like kind of talking about stuff as it comes up. It was fun, guys. Oh, yeah. Nice to hang out with you.
Yeah, it's good to hang out with you.
Here?
Yeah.
And we'll have to do it again soon. So I'm gonna wrap it up, and everybody go check out Gideon Optics. Check out what's the Instagram? Is it just Gideon
Optics on Instagram?
One word? All right, that's
easy.
Okay, Gideon Optics on Instagram. You can check them out on their website. I will be ordering a couple different optics for guns I've got that have been waiting for optics. And yeah. What about you, Brandon? What do you got? What you got going on? Anything interesting you want to bring up before we get out of here?
Not really. I'm grinding. I'm just grinding.
You're a busy man. We weren't even sure if we were going to get you here. So
yeah, that's why. Yeah, the whole setup. I'm just on my laptop here in the middle of it's just chaos.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah, it's chaos. But
I'm glad my life isn't chaos. Look behind me, right? Like that's my real workbench, boys.
well, I have this curtain behind me. Don't pay attention to anything behind it, right?
That's why the lights are down here as well. Pure chaos. So all right, everybody. I'm gonna hit the end and we will check you guys out next time.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
See ya.
Later.